Something smells tasty, she said. Yeah, well, I figured you weren't around frying cow enough already today, so I thought I'd help, Sue said back to her. Well, thank you. Rob was smiling at their interaction as he was setting the table. Sue then said, It was going to go bad if we didn't eat it soon. Oh, that's okay. I'm so hungry I'd eat just about anything right now. Really? Sue raised an eyebrow at her. Oh, har har, Michelle Faux laughed. It smells delicious. Sue looked at Rob and said, She's around food all day, discounted food no less, and she comes home starving. Well, I can't eat that crap. I've seen how it's made, she said with a slight pout as she removed her clip-on bow tie and plopped down on the kitchen stool. Rob, you don't mind eating burger again today, do you? Sue suddenly asked him. Are you kidding? It's the food of the gods. And the unemployed, he responded. They had a nice dinner at the dining table in the kitchen nook. Sue asked Rob if it was good. Yeah, it's great. I love having dinner with girls. He held up his fork and said, Look, utensils and everything. Michelle asked, That's not how the boys do it when they're hanging out? Rob didn't really have a group of boys, or a group period, except for the two of them, so he just said, You don't even want to know. After dinner, Sue pulled the stuffed Michelle into her room for the talk. Rob walked over to the sink and started washing dishes. He got one plate done when he heard Sue yell out in response to the clanking. Her shout was slightly muffled, but he understood every word.
Rob, stop it. I'll get them later.
He knew she wasn't just trying to be nice. She meant it. So he yelled back to her, Fine! He stopped and trotted over to the sofa to watch some amazingly stimulating late-night television. Sue made Michelle sit on the bed and she sat next to her. She began, Rob knows you think he's nuts. I don't, she said back, but was interrupted. Yes, you do. Michelle gave up easily and shrugged. Sue was right. I can tell you for a fact that he's not. You can? She sounded skeptical as usual. How? Because. She couldn't even think of where to start explaining. Then it came to her. Because when we got to his apartment today, his bed was overturned. And you know last night before he knocked on the door? You know you heard the sounds too. He could have been making those weird noises himself. No, he wasn't! Look, when I picked him up to bring him here last night, I saw his apartment. Everything was normal. His bed was right where it should have been. She stopped, exasperated, and said, God, I feel like such an asshole. I sat there today telling him how you were on his side, but you won't even believe me. You're the one with the fucking ghost stories. Sue, stop. I don't know one way or the other. Maybe it's real, or maybe he's just delusional. Am I delusional? No, but you're not exactly acting lucid right now either. Insanity can be contagious, you know. I didn't expect you to be so resistant, but just in case, I got more proof. Do you remember what Rob said when he woke up today? Michelle searched for a moment and then said, No. Mel's Motel. Do you remember now? Sue asked with an extremely patronizing tone. He said Mel's Motel. What? Oh, well, yeah, I remember now. So? Good. I recorded the news tonight when they replayed the broadcast. Without another word, she stormed into the living room where Rob was watching TV at a deliberately high volume. She wrenched the tape out of the VCR, which she still luckily preferred to TiVo, and stomped back into the bedroom and slammed the door shut behind her. Rob jumped a little at the force of the slam. Her building was built strong, but he was sure at least a neighbor or two had stirred in their sleep. He was munching on a few chips, but he had frozen when Sue had rushed out. The salty treats had been on their way to his mouth. He was still in that position when the door slammed and the chips fell from his fingers back into the bag. He didn't notice. His eyes were still on their door while his jaw hung wide open, still waiting for the bite. Sue popped the tape into an ancient TV VCR combo that Michelle had. Hopefully it still worked. It was so seldom used. Michelle sat nervously while Sue got more and more frustrated trying to quickly cue it up. Finally she got to it. After the segment was over, Sue stopped the tape and the blank blue screen immediately came on. She said, You see? Then she just stared at her, waiting for a response. Okay, that is pretty weird, Michelle finally said. You bet your ass it is. Now about the bed and his dreams. I don't think he's pounding on the walls for extra attention. Also, I don't think I would hire someone to come in and throw the bed around for kicks. And I don't think he gets the news in advance like the guy on that stupid show. All right, I'm convinced. Yeah, right. No, really, I am. This is proof. That's all I needed. You only need prophetic dreams and countless people to die in order to believe us. Wow, you're open. I'm so glad I trusted you to be so distrustful, Sue said as she held up the tape. That's not fair. Sue knew she was right about that. I'm sorry. I'm just still freaking. I guess maybe I'm projecting some of it. Maybe I wouldn't be freaking so much right now if I really did believe him all along, she said guiltily. Well, it's not something you should just blindly go along with. Don't beat yourself up over it, and don't beat me up either. Sue smiled at her. I won't. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. I'm apologizing in advance. For what? Michelle stiffened. Sue told her about their conversation at lunch and his theory about being alone and such. She told her that Rob was not to sleep alone. She winced, waiting for her reaction. Well, of course he's not going to sleep alone. I'm not completely heartless. Give me some credit. Well, 10 minutes ago I don't think you would have been as cool with it. Michelle cocked her head to the side and raised her eyebrows in agreement. So you really do believe this? You'll take this seriously? Yes, Michelle said emphatically. Good, because this can become a real inconvenience, but you can't get mad at the situation. This is just how it is. I won't get mad, I promise you. It's not like we have a solution yet or anything. We don't know how long this will go on or where it will lead. I understand that. They just looked at each other silently for a while, letting everything soak in before they finally engaged in a lengthy embrace. That night they all slept in Michelle's room. They were all exhausted from the day's drama and all slept heavily and soundly. No nightmares came. No monsters came. Rob stretched and rolled over and saw that the bed was empty. He got up in his boxers and t-shirt and bed hair and found Sue and Michelle making breakfast. He could smell it in his sleep. It smelled good. Bacon was frying on a skillet. In a pan was a puddle of Bisquick mix that would soon become another pancake for the stack. Despite the fact that it was almost 1 in the afternoon, they said their good mornings. Well, that was nice for a change, Rob said. What? Asked Sue as she was setting plates on the table. Some nice, solid sleep. I think we were all due for some, Michelle chimed in as she was flipping the sizzling strips over. When everything was cooked in more than adequate portions, they sat again at the dining table to eat. Michelle placed a glass of orange juice in front of Rob and said, "Part of this complete breakfast." It was complete. There was crispy bacon, Bisquick pancakes, toast with strawberry jelly, and a choice of coffee, orange juice, milk, or all three to drink. Thank you. How did you know I wanted the juice? Rob asked. Sue told me. You only drink milk if it has a gallon of chocolate in it, and coffee doesn't work on you until you've been up for a few hours. She's right, he said. You also hate green peppers, Michelle said. They're the devil, he agreed. I hate them too. People get them all the time on pizza, and they're like, pick them off, and you're going, I guess, but their juice has been sucked in and ruined the whole crust. Yuck. Sue tisked and said, Aw, look at you two hating the same things. Michelle was still serving and leaned her face into Rob's until they were both facing Sue, cheek to cheek, and said, I know, ain't it sweet? Nauseatingly so, she answered. Let's eat. Hell yeah, Rob said. While they were scarfing everything down, Michelle turned to Rob and said that Sue had to go into work, but that she had the day off. She said they deliberately took different days off to have time to strut around the place naked if they wanted to sometimes. He told her not to change anything on his account. She slapped him on the shoulder. She asked if he wanted to go to the library with her. He said that would be nice. With that all set, they finished the meal. Afterward, Rob offered to clean up, but they said there were still plenty more dishes in the cupboards to be used up first. They said this was normal for them. They said that they liked to wait until the flies were too thick to see through them, then they would clean. Then they insisted seriously that he not worry about it and just relax. Rob shrugged and added his dirty dish to the top of the pile. They dropped Sue off at the diner and made their way to the library. They would be back to pick her up when her shift was over. She turned around just before she went inside and made an exaggerated frown. They waved bye to her with giant smiles on their faces, and Michelle peeled out. Any reason in particular we're going to the library? Rob asked on the way there. I just want to check some things on the internet. I used to be something of a nerd in high school. Actually, I still am. I just hide it better now. That's cool. I'm completely computer illiterate, but I'll have fun running through the aisles of books. They still have books, right? I believe so, Michelle chuckled. I like to read a lot. I guess that makes me something of a nerd, too. That and the fact that I've never missed an episode of The X-Files. Tell no one. Michelle made the Vulcan hand sign. Really? He asked. She made a pained face of truth. I won't tell if you won't. Deal. And I can also quote The X-Files. A girl after my own heart. Hey, just because I am a nerd doesn't mean I date them. She slapped him on the same shoulder again. Careful. We nerds bruise easy. She laughed. So what do you read? Usually just the fun stuff. Pulp fiction, you know. Anything escapist. I like Stephen King, Richard Matheson, Kurt Vonnegut, and Robert McCammon. I know I should throw some Machiavelli or Dostoevsky in there, but I just want to have a good time when I read. I hear you. The class I'm taking at LACC for graphic design is slowly draining my love for computers. I just want to go back to having fun with it. That sounds cool, though. Good for you for doing it. Is graphic design what you really want to do with computers, though? No. I want to do pure research, scientific, historic, whatever. I want to get independently contracted to gather statistics and information for whoever needs it. Now that really sounds fun, he said sarcastically. It is. I like the hunt and I like to learn. Anyway, I'd like it a whole lot better than what I'm doing now in class, and I'd love it a hell of a lot more than waiting tables. I'll bet, Rob said, envying her goals and her willingness to pursue them. Do you want to go to school for anything? Oh, look, we're here, he said, and they pulled into the lot.